Hello, Namaskar, and welcome once again to our show In Our Teens, a show that brings together parents, teenagers, and experts to help us understand the remarkable journey of teenage. आज के एपिसोड में in my guest chair today, I have a dad parent, Mr. Vijay Narayanan, who is so cool, and his son, Master Ishan Narayanan, who is our country's youngest Formula 4 racer. आज बात करेंगे इस यूनिक फादर सन रिलेशनशिप के बारे में और बात करेंगे ईशान से कि फॉर्मूला 4 रेसिंग क्या होता है, उसके क्या थॉट प्रोसेस होते हैं जब एक रेस शुरू होने वाली होती है और क्या प्रेशर्स होते हैं और क्या सेफ्टी मेजर्स ईशान को रखने पड़ते हैं टू बी इन दिस वेरी वेरी डिमांडिंग फील्ड। आइए बात करते हैं। Hi Vijay and welcome to our show In Our Teens.
Hi Manasi, glad to be here.
Yes, you know this episode is unique in every way. You're a single parent and a dad because
Yes.
mostly in parenting, dad is a good cop. So how do you manage to be sometimes also be the bad cop? Are you or are you not?
Fortunately, that aspect is taken care of by the other half.
Okay.
But you got to do a balancing act, right? In the sense, I don't really believe in the good cop, bad cop kind of approach. Because once the communication with your child is seamless, then it becomes far more easier to even enforce the right things and also have fun in the process, right?
Okay.
So it's been a very seamless journey so far.
Okay. Journey, now you just spoke about journey. So I'm saying, has it been a seamless journey or a little bit topsy-turvy because now Ishan is a teenager?
Right.
So teenage is an age where, where the real parenting comes out.
Right.
So what changes have you seen in Ishan, like the young Ishan and now a teenager? Or what changes that you have
In my
made?
approach.
Yes.
So it's been very organic, So obviously I've heard a lot of stories about how suddenly there's a drastic difference in parenting and the approach, and with respect to how your equation and relationship with us, how you relate to the child changes obviously.
Correct.
In terms of the content or the kind of communication that you speak. Probably the fun element reduces with time, but then there are various other aspects that come into your equation which makes it very easier to relate.
Correct.
So for example, now he's into Formula 4 sports, right?
Yes.
So sports is something that a parent naturally can get affiliated to, especially from a mate's perspective.
Correct.
So that has happened, and then we indulge in a lot of activities which otherwise, had he not been a teen, would not have been possible.
Correct.
So based on this equation, I think it's been a very nice journey so far.
Yeah. So is Ishan learning, or you as a father, or are you also learning in the process?
You're right. That's a very important question because I think adaptation or relatability is a very important factor.
And flexibility too.
Yeah, because unless you make yourself relevant to the child, I think that's a very important aspect which probably every parent should know or should follow. I think relevance is the biggest gap when it comes to a parent not being able to understand a teen. So what happens is the likes and preferences of a teen completely changes. So when he's about 12, for example, to the time he's 14, the difference is all just about 2 years. But how they change in terms of their behavior, their approach, their likes and dislikes are completely different.
Yes.
So unless you're relatable to their content or their views or their perceptions, then the gap widens post 14 or 15.
Correct.
And that is where, they have a communication gap. So I've strived to be relevant to his requirement in the sense, so although maybe I might not be an ardent fan of Formula sports, but when I'm with him, I practically know all the champions who have
You keep yourself updated.
Yeah, being relevant. So music is something where it's a huge challenge for me because it's such a huge gap between the preferences. But then if you look at this, this band of teenagers, they are also liking music which we used to like at our times.
Yes.
So retro music.
Yes.
So in terms of music, in terms of life skills, these are certain areas where if you keep yourself relevant, then the whole equation can add a lot of value to how you can relate to your child. Yeah.
So speaking of life skills, Vijay, what is that one life skill that you want Ishan to have, or one thing that you would a thought behind it that you would want to gently slide to him?
Right. So I would mention 3 months, if I may, because life skills as a topic is not addressed in our schools, which is such a shocking factor, because the way life skills can impact a person's life, not in terms of just the financial well-being, but also all other aspects, right?
Yes.
Because most of the children are going abroad now for studies, right? So there, suddenly, if you're not blessed with life skills which are not taught by the parent or school, to grapple with a lot of other things becomes a very difficult issue.
Yes.
So I would say financial literacy is extremely important, right? Which is not taught in schools at all.
Yes.
We are taught subjects like history and geography, which might or might not be relevant to the child. But just one subject like financial literacy is so important, and not in the context of what all of us know, real financial literacy. Then understanding the laws of the country, which is so
Yes.
important,
Yes.
right? So if you look at the teenagers' approach towards cops, right? They're supposed to be the law enforcers, and we are supposed to be protected with them.
Yes.
So instead of having an affinity towards the police force, we're scared.
Yes.
Because
That's
it's a lack of knowledge,
content
right?
has spoiled us.
Content, and also lack of knowledge of
Yes.
how we can enforce the law,
Yes.
right? So these aspects, and then obviously what I believe in today's generation, what alphabets were relevant to us, just learning basic alphabets. So digital marketing has become the basics of essence of growth. So anybody with a sound knowledge of digital marketing can be completely independent in today's times.
Correct.
So the importance of branding yourself.
Yes.
So let's look at about 15 years back, right? If you had to brand yourself as an individual, you would have to probably spend crores of rupees.
Yeah.
It was the privilege of only probably a Birla or a Tata.
Yeah.
But today, anybody with an intent, with a serious content can actually brand, and it's absolutely free of cost, right?
Yes. Having that knowledge.
Exactly, and it's free. Social
Yes,
media is
it's
free.
free,
So
yes.
as long as you're consistent and as long as you have a very typical USP, so even from the age of probably 16 and 17, you can create a brand for yourself which can help you tremendously in your financial growth. So these are advantages which our generation didn't have, which is very important for schools to impart, but unfortunately there's a huge gap.
Yes.
So that I feel is important. Yeah.
Thank you, Vijay, for bringing forth the positivity that social media can have in our lives.
Right.
Because most of the times, parents, when we talk about social media, they think that, time barbad ho jata hai.
Right.
Age appropriate content nahi rehta. But this is one way where I say that, this is a tool. If you use it
Absolutely.
responsibly, it can really create wonders.
I totally agree because, and also the algorithm of social media is
Yes.
such, for example, if you search a particular topic on social media, Instagram or YouTube, whatever, the algorithm will naturally take that and
Yes.
keep on feeding you with that
Yes.
information.
Yes.
So it's not as if, so if you feed your teen with important things that this is also important to you and also enjoyable.
Yes.
So for example, Formula 4 or let's say digital marketing. Now, incidentally, Ishan, my eldest son, he started an apparel brand called Void, right? At the age of just 15.
Yeah.
So when he searches for apparel brands, so he gets cues on apparel brands, designs on social media. So there's a pro and con of any tool. So once you know how to use a tool the right way, I think it makes a lot of sense to have that in your life.
No, this is making, these 2 points are making so much sense here because, like you said, the algorithm. If you're looking at content which is disturbing, it will keep showing you the same content.
Exactly.
So it is your choice, and I think parents need to introduce these right choices to their children.
True.
To help them understand that
Right.
that there could be a positivity behind something that we most of the times forbid our children from.
Exactly.
it.
And also, Mansi, I feel we are going a lot by conventions in the sense, we feel at our age probably mid-20s or late 20s was a time by which, you would
We decided
establish
a
a
career,
career.
yes.
But gone are those times.
Yes.
You look at Ritesh Agarwal.
Yes.
He became a billionaire by the age of 19.
I
So-
already a startup guy.
Exactly. So there's no definitions or norms anymore. So the important aspect is today the tool is social media, which is absolutely free of cost. You don't
Yes.
even have to pay a dime to
Yes.
become a brand.
Yes.
So if our teens or kids do not leverage this tremendous platform the right way,
Energy is channeled in the right way by a parent.
correct. The guidance in terms of what to
Yes.
do and to yet make it enjoyable, not
Yes.
to make it monotonous like the typical curriculum that we have in school.
Yeah.
We can't as parents do anything about the curriculum.
Yes.
But at least when it comes to social media,
At
that
home, we
guidance-
can change the curriculum.
Exactly.
So Vijay, from what you've been saying till now, I can see that you have so much of thought process behind the way you want to bring up your children.
Right.
So tell me, how are you balancing your work and the time that you have for Ishan's career and the little ones, education of both your boys?
Right.
How are you balancing work? Because for every parenting, you need financial resources to have that, optimum that you
Exactly.
can give to your children.
Absolutely.
So how are you balancing your time?
That way, although we've separated, but then co-parenting helps in the
Correct.
sense, we've divided our time in such a way that we give equal justice to the child.
Correct.
And also in areas which are of our expertise, right? I'm not an expert in all matters and neither is she. But when you divide and focus on the child with respect to your own core expertise, you get time for your work also. And also being an entrepreneur, it helps. What happens is when you compare your life as compared to a salaried individual, for an entrepreneur, things can be easy because he can dictate terms and he can set up systems and processes
Correct.
where he can balance out a work life. For example, so during the 3 days that he's with me, I can probably take an early break from work and come and dedicate that time,
Correct.
which might not be possible in a salaried individual situation, right?
Yes.
So that flexibility is there.
Okay.
And over time, once you realize, also that it's not never the quantity of time, right? It's just the quality of time.
Yes.
Just 1 hour spent beautifully with a child, in terms of being relevant, as I said, that helps. It's never the number of hours, I feel.
So you look forward to that. So what is a typical father-son day, that quality time day that you spend with each other?
So it's a mix of everything, right? So we typically we come down and we watch a lot of social media together.
Okay.
So we spend almost half an hour to 45 minutes on Instagram, both of us.
Okay.
We discuss his brand Void. I discuss digital marketing. Now his school also has a very interesting format where once a week they have to do a compulsory internship.
Okay.
So they are interning at various organizations.
Okay.
So he comes down to my office and he dabbles in digital marketing, design, creativity, and all that. So, and obviously he's Formula 4. So once a month I'm supposed to take him to Coimbatore and Chennai to race. So a mix of everything has created a very ideal blend for us to be more than pals. After a certain age, I think it's very important to be friends rather than.
Yes.
There will be exist that gap between a parent and a child for sure.
Yes.
You can't expect a child to share everything with a parent that he shares with a friend. But by and large, if you can largely relate to him as a friend where he can be open about most things, I think that's a job well done.
So Formula 4, like you said, every week you have to fly down to Coimbatore for his training.
Right.
So why Formula 4? What made you, have this unique choice?
So in fact, Manasi is not my choice at all, to be honest with you, because it's a sport which every parent is going to be really scared about, right? When you see your team.
And why would you say that?
Because the speed at which they are zipping around is 150 kilometers per hour, right?
Right.
A Formula 4 goes at 150 per hour, right? And they're taking turns at around 90 to 100, those turns. So it's a very risky sport, right? And also in India, what happens is the kind of safety norms that are required internationally is not there.
Right.
Okay, so in a Formula car, typically you have something called the halo. The halo protects you, but in India it's not there. It's a very nascent stage. So these things obviously scare you as a parent, but then the idea what I've seen is, so before Formula 4, we took to basketball. Okay. But what I've seen is that sport, when you take up a sport, if you reasonably are good at it, that benefits percolate to a lot of other areas in your life.
For
So I've
example?
seen that. So for example, the adrenaline that you feel and the sense of competitiveness that you feel and also team spirit. So all these things actually come down and percolate to other areas of your life, right? You become a better human being. You become more extroverted in your approach. Your idea of not giving up, even with respect to academics, those natural qualities which you want to inculcate comes through sports. So sports has been very good. So in that sense, I've realized that I've looked at statistics and told myself, in the last 7 or 8 years, nothing unforeseen has happened here also in India. So why should I let my fear curb his instinct? And initially, also what happens is during the teen stage, there are fads, right? So every teen goes through a certain phase where he feels that, okay, this is my life and this is going to be my career. And eventually in a year's time, it fades out. But with him, I've seen that he's consistently being extremely focused on Formula 4. And it has really helped him because he gets up at 5:36 in the morning, does yoga, then does workout in the evening, plays basketball for cardio. So his entire
because you need a lot of core strength, right?
the core strength and also the focus and discipline towards, So even his 1 hour in the evening has become very precious for him, because of which he knows that, okay, I've got to study now. I can't get distracted. So in that way, sports really rubs off on a lot of other areas of your life. So that way I feel that overall, despite that sport being dangerous in terms of numbers or statistics, but I feel it's really helped him in the long run.
In our country, some people, when you mention, some parents, when you mention that I'm training my son to be a Formula 4 racer, do they still give you a eye roll?
First of all, it's lack of education in the country. In the sense, you don't really expect them to know much about Formula 4, right? The maximum a parent knows is about go-karting.
Yes.
And go-karting is technically a leisure sport in the country. It's not really a sport kind of activity,
Correct.
right? But Formula is a different ball game altogether.
So do you have to explain yourself every single time that you
Yeah, I think the
tell him
biggest
about your son's
explanation
choice
part
of
is
career at this young age?
And also, it's not I would not say a career. He says it's a very important aspect of his career, and he's, even tuning his academics in terms of going abroad to that. But I'll still say it's very early stages.
Okay.
But as for the present, right now, he's completely focused. But I think the biggest question that parents have is in terms of the expense. It's a very expensive sport, right? So even
So what kind of expense parents should expect if the child is pursuing a Formula 4 career?
So Formula 4, say, obviously the idea is if you're pursuing Formula 4, you'll progress to Formula 3 and 2 and
2
1.
and 1, eventually 1.
Right, but one entire globe, there are only 20 people in one. So there's a kind of competition we're talking about, right? So even if you take a soccer, for example, if there are 20 teams, each team does have 11 players plus
Yes.
about 5. So here it's only 20. So the kind of competition you're talking about is insane. It's a level which is we can't even comprehend. So until Formula 1, a parent has to sponsor largely, unless you get sponsorships, which is also a very rare thing in India because it's the sport still hasn't
not much
gained
talked
that
about,
recognition.
yeah.
So on an average for Formula 4 in India, you'll expect to spend about 50 odd lakhs a year. And the moment, and FIA points, I mean the organization that looks at Formula 4, India is not still part of the organization there. So your points, if you race in India, is not counted. So after a year, you got to go to Dubai or probably Europe. So the moment you go to Dubai, it's about 1.5 crores a year. And the moment you go to Europe, it's about 7 to 8 crores a year. So that kind of money, we're not even talking about lakhs, we're talking about crores. So it's not easy for parents to, and also even if a parent has that bandwidth, he would probably keep it for the child's future, right? Even if I had 50 crores, I'd probably leave it and bequeath it to him
Yes.
rather than spending it on Formula
Yes,
4.
yes.
So I'm still coming to terms with the idea. We'll take each year as it progresses, but honestly, it's not a sport right now which most of the parents in India can really think about. It's actually the privilege of industrialists and a very few percentage of the population.
Vijay, you're based in Mumbai. You're traveling to Coimbatore for his training. Are you telling me that in Mumbai there are not many training? There is no training.
There is
happening?
nothing at all,
The
because-
professional training that you're looking at.
Yeah, because the essence of Formula sports is space. So these tracks are huge, right?
Correct.
They're 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers stretch. So in the city, imagine with the kind of airport that we have, right? Space is a huge constraint in the city, right? So the near closest track that you can probably make in Mumbai is somewhere in Panvel or probably Lonavala.
Yes,
And it's impossible for somebody to travel to Mumbai. So these sports are connected to the tire companies by and
Correct.
large. So MRF is in Chennai and JK is based out of Coimbatore. So which is the result. So these tracks have been in existence in these cities for the last 25, 30 years. But those tracks are not A-grade tracks. They're
Okay.
still not the level of international standards. But having said that, it's a good stepping point for
Correct.
somebody to start their activity. At least find out gauge your level of interest.
Correct.
Yeah, to that extent they're okay. But yes, it's a task, right? Going to Coimbatore once a month or going to
It
Chennai
is,
once a month.
and
Yeah, it's not easy.
dedication.
Yeah,
As a
taking on
parent
4 or
too.
5 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. Yeah.
So so you're setting an amazing example where parent can go at any length to see to it that the child has a good career, or that thin line of understanding a fad to serious interest and passion
Exactly.
is what is a parent's struggle most of the
Absolutely,
time.
you said it right. And said, yeah, you don't really know whether they are
Yes.
absolutely serious and
Yes,
And what if they
because a teenager mind is a frivolous mind
exactly
where they are on one thing today and then it's another thing few
The next
days
day.
later. Yeah.
based on social media again,
Yes,
influence, right?
yes.
Things change.
Yes.
So if you recall, immediately post COVID, Netflix released a series called Drive to Survive.
Yes.
So not only India, the entire global world, across the world, right? The popularity of Formula sports went to another level. As a result, in India, there are about 4 to 5 new tracks that are coming up. One near Pune and one in Ahmedabad. And the Delhi one has opened up again, the Buddh Circuit, where we had
Okay.
the bike sports, right?
Yes.
I think it's MP Sports, or they bought the international biking sports came to
It-
India after a long time.
Okay.
So things are opening up, and as a result, more participation will result in the overall pricing coming down. But yes, but I would feel that a parent should focus on the immediate benefits of a child being in that sport,
Correct.
rather than looking at it from a career's point of view.
Correct.
Career in today's times is not really a challenge for teenagers, unlike us, right? For us, the options was just probably being a doctor or a CA. We didn't even know advertising or marketing or anything that exists. But for them, it's a plethora of choices.
Yes.
Even if you open up a nice salon, you're still looked at with respect, which is not the case.
Which was not
before.
the case
Or probably a
few
good chef.
years ago. Yes.
Yeah. So the equality in terms of respect of professions has come up.
Yes.
So I don't think earning money will be a challenge for this generation at all. The challenge would be more in terms of recognition, creating your own USP, creating your own brand. How do you stand out from the rest of the crowd? Those would be the factors to look forward to.
Which is, speaking of challenges, what is that one challenging thing that you find in parenting? I mean, I'm sure we try to combat a lot of problems that come our way, but
Right.
there are a few problems that just refuse to get solved.
I think time is a constraint. Yeah, time is a huge.
So, are you a
try your
patient
best.
parent
I
or
think-
are you a hyper parent?
So that's more a question probably which Eshan would answer. I would love to,
no,
talk
but
about
I'm sure
myself.
every
Yeah.
parent introspects, right?
I think I'm. Yeah.
We look back upon
You've got to be
situations.
patient because in the sense, more than patience, I think patience is a consequence. If you genuinely have empathy towards your child, right, based on his age and based on the circumstances, you got to really transport yourself to that place and see the kind of. So it's not easy. When we were teens and when they are teens, the gap is huge.
Yes, yes.
In terms of the kind of schedule, the grueling schedule, sometimes I feel his schedule is 10 times more grueling than mine, right? He doesn't have a second to breathe during weekdays. So when you have that genuine empathy, then it becomes easier for patience to come as a natural consequence. It is easier, yeah.
Still, one challenge as a single father that
Time is definitely, you want more of the time. You want to teach your son's life skills yourself. You're very passionate. For example, I proposed to the principal of the school that obviously Monday to Friday you guys are completely swamped. So why don't me and my team come down? So I have a huge team in terms of life coaches, and we are passionate about these causes. So, but we said we would come down voluntary to your school and we would teach all the children life skills, but they refused because time is a constraint.
yes.
So time is always a constraint. You want to do 10 things, but you end up doing about 2. That I think is the only gap per se. Otherwise, yeah, another thing that every parent I feel should focus on is that communication bridge should always be on between a
Yes.
child. The moment the communication is broken, then it becomes very difficult for the child also.
Yes.
You can't always depend on your friends for support, right? So, Mark Twain had a very interesting quote which I keep on remembering. So he said that when I was 19, my father was such a fool. But when I was 30, I realized how intelligent he had grown up to be.
Yes.
So, so that's how it is.
With
So,
every growing child, there is a growing parent.
exactly, right? And the child who realizes that, oh, okay, my dad wasn't wrong after all. So these things, so
So Vijay, before we conclude, I just want to ask that how supportive is our country in terms of field specialization? Like you're specializing your child to be a Formula 4 racer, but side by side, do you think education is also important? That it's a pressure on him as well to excel in his academics?
yeah, absolutely, Mansi. Because
Do you
what
think
happens
our
is-
country still demands that and judges the kids on basis on their academic output?
I know time is short, but when you focus on a career, we look at the industries per se. But industries is not how a person should approach a career. You should approach a career in terms of the skills of the person. So any skill of a person can be divided broadly into 3 or 4 categories. One is your person innovative? Is your child innovative or creative? Second is a strategic bent of mind. Can you put planning and can you put a structure to it? And third is a kind of an executive bent of mind. In the sense, we don't know what planning or you just give me a task and I'll execute it.
Correct.
And the fourth is an evaluative kind of mind,
Yes.
where you can understand the past and you can learn from it. So human beings are categorized into that. So even if I'm, let's say, creative, I can join an engineering field and I can probably design a car. So it's based on who you are, and that skill can be across industries, which is not taught in school.
Correct.
So you're taught to be an engineer or a doctor, but am I a creative engineer or an executive engineer is something I don't know about.
Correct.
So even in finance, for example, a sector that is as boring as insurance, you can probably curate insurance policies and still be very happy
Yeah.
because you're a creative bent of mind.
Correct.
So that is something that I feel is a huge gap, because of which kids have to go through all this monotonous things of 80 to 90% of the curriculum that is taught is not required for them in the future.
Absolutely.
But the need to have a degree is extremely important, otherwise you can't progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even even if a parent, there are parents there in this Formula 4 who are willing to spend about 50 crores, they already have 50 crores parked. But even then the coach says Formula will always be your backup and never you have to focus on academics. So that's the state of the global level, Unless the degrees are removed, the need to have a degree is removed, I think we still have that challenges.
But yes, Formula 4, we are so interested to understand from
Yeah.
the boy behind the wheels.
I'm sure we'll have a lot of things to say.
In my guest chair now is Eshan Narayanan. Hi Ishan, and welcome to
Hi.
our show in our teens.
I
First thing I want to ask you, why Formula 4 racing?
that sport is just I've always liked cars and the speed and the way the sport is the speed, the glamour and everything.
So what is it that you saw for the first time that you felt that, oh, I want to be that?
So I started with karting.
Hmm.
Karting was a hobby for me, go-karting. So since the show Drive to Survive came out, I started watching that, and since that I just want to race. And looking
Really?
at that, yeah.
So you have somebody that you look up to in racing?
So there's this driver called Max Verstappen. So he's very young, and looking at him and how he's made it into Formula One keeps me going.
So, Ishan, quickly, could you tell us what Formula One, Formula Two, Three, and Four like?
So Formula One is the highest form of racing. So the teams and the cars are way like different than 2, 3, and 4. So the teams are different. In 4, there's like smaller teams. Then 3 and 2 are much. The cars are different. The speed of each cars are different. So yeah.
So you have this training in Coimbatore.
Yes.
Okay, so every week you're traveling.
Yes.
Does it exhaust you some way?
Few times it's happened like with school and stuff, like handling both at the same time.
Yes.
It's been quite stressful, but yeah.
But so what your friends think? Your peers think when they know that you're training for Formula 4 racing. So what's their reaction?
They seem it's quite cool, but they don't know anything about the sport.
Correct.
I try to teach them most of the stuff, like the small things, like what are lap times, what are the speed of this car and all that. So they learn from me most of the stuff, and yeah.
So what speed you usually drive at?
So these cars average around 160 to 150 kilometer per hour.
Are you serious? I mean, what does it feel? Do you sometimes get butterflies in your stomach when you see on the meter the speed really increasing?
Yeah,
and so do you feel scared sometimes?
Not scared, because I can control myself in the car. So it's like it's me and myself. That's it.
So when it's you and yourself in the car, the mental strength is so very important.
Yeah.
So how do you keep calm? I'm sure there must be anxiety, there must be frustrations.
Yeah.
So how do you keep yourself
just meditate
calm?
before the race. Yeah, just keep your calm and go out and focus.
So do you do some breathing exercise, some
Yeah,
pranayama?
before the race, I just focus. I sit in one corner. I just focus and just go out.
So Ishan, for this core training or diet is also important, right?
Right.
So how do you go about it?
So every day I work out. It's fitness most of the time. So in the morning before school, around 6, I do some fitness or go to the gym. Then evening I play basketball for cardio. And diet, I don't really look at diet that much, but yeah, it's a big part of the game.
So you train 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
and then you go
And
to
then
school, and then you finish your studies, and then you
go play basketball for an hour.
that's hard work. And this you do 5 days a week,
Yeah.
and then 2 days you train.
2 days, yeah. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend.
Oh, 3 days you train.
Yeah.
So is school supporting this sometimes when you have to miss school?
Yeah, so school is quite supportive about this.
Great.
They give me like leaves for the race weekend, and so the homework and stuff, they like hold it on for the race weekend, come back, and then you can finish it off and submit it.
So just before a race, what's your thought process, Ishan?
Like you just have to go and do your best.
And what does your typical training day looks like? Like when you step onto your training field,
Okay, yeah.
what are the things you do?
So the day, we have to land there like early morning. So we have to
How
reach
early
there
is
around
that?
9, 10
Okay.
in the morning. Then we start changing into our gear and all that stuff. Then
So sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a layman
Right.
in your Formula 4, so I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you more questions, so don't get
Yeah,
irritated,
yeah,
okay?
it's fine.
So you get into your gear and all. So what does your thing look from inside the car? How does it look? It's a car, right?
Yeah. It's a car. So it's a single-seater car.
Okay.
It has 4 wheels, 1 steering wheel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it have the?
It has a gear.
It's manual. It's automatic.
Yeah, it's a manual car. It's a 5-shifter gear with a
Okay.
nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 5 gears it has. Yeah. And the topmost speed that you can.
It's 160 max.
So you train then. You do the
Yeah.
lap
So
for
after
timing.
we change and stuff, we get in a car. So it's a 30-minute session 6 times a day. So we drive for 30 minutes, come back, drive for 30. So each lap we try to push faster and faster.
So Ishan, before you get into your vehicle, do you check? Are there some safety checks that you do?
Yeah, so there are few safety measures you have to take. So the seat belts have to be like really tightened. So the marshals, they check our safety stuff. So gear, our helmets are tightened up, our head and neck shoulder device and all that stuff. So it has to be checked and properly.
And the
marked.
tires,
Tires also. So the tires have to be properly filled in with
right?
proper
Air pressure.
and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it's the speed at 160.
Mhm.
Do you even have a fraction of second to shift your eyeball?
Not really. You just look at the front and look what's coming up.
Yeah, it's so much concentration. So, are you allowed any music?
No, no radio.
Oh,
no
you just
music.
have to concentrate.
Yeah. You just talk to yourself in the car. Like
It's your own space.
Yeah.
That you have created
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
So Ishan, when you're training,
Mm.
obviously you're a teenager, so you understand that the kind of investment that goes on
Yeah.
for Formula 4 training
Yeah.
and racing, and eventually Formula 1.
Yeah.
That's what you're eyeing
Okay,
at.
yeah.
Yes. So sometimes does it bog you down that the thought of parents are putting in so much of investment and I need to excel? Do you feel that pressure ever?
Not pressure, but even
Gratitude?
myself, like I want to do the best because we're giving in so much into this sport, the time and the money. So I want to give my best and show them what I can do, and
That your choice is right.
Yes,
It's not
Like-
just
like it should be worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, dad being a single father, fathers are mostly said that okay, they don't give time to children. So when your father is being there with you for training,
Yeah.
so do you feel that more than as compared to other fathers, your father is putting in so much of his time?
Yeah, right. He is. I mean, most like me and so my dad and mom both come together for race weekends. Like
Okay.
it depends on whose work is less,
Correct.
or depends on who's free. So even dad tries to manage few weekends, and he comes there for like. 3
And
to
then
4
some
days.
weekends when dad is not able to make it,
Mom makes
comes.
it. Yeah.
So co-parenting is a new concept in
Yeah.
India. Okay, most of the times parents have single custody.
Mm.
So how do you balance out your time between mom and dad?
So it depends. Like a few days in the week, I'm with mom or dad.
Okay.
So probably 4 days with mom and then 3 days with dad. So it's a balance between both of them.
So for you and your brother, what's the best part of being with mom and what's the best part of being with dad?
So with mom, okay, I'll start with that. So with dad, it's more, I don't know how to.
Technical,
No.
more gadgets thing.
Yeah. So it's more open and like it's like okay, wait, I can't find the right word.
Okay. So he's like he said, he likes spending time with you,
Yeah.
browsing through social media,
Yeah.
which not many parents say. Okay.
Yeah, no.
But he appreciates the content that the content choices that you're making.
Mhm, right.
But as you're aware, I mean, I'm sure with your friends, not every child makes the right content
Right.
choice.
Right.
So, do you sometimes try to tell your friends that probably they're looking at something wrong?
Wrong. Yeah. So like probably look at the right things and like mostly learn from social media basically. So that's the biggest thing what I've seen. Like personally, I've learned so much from like Instagram, YouTube, and stuff. So I try to tell my friends to like you
How to use it productively.
Yeah, how to use it productively, right?
Okay. Do you come across bullying, Ishan?
Me personally, no.
Okay. Do you stand up for somebody who's probably getting bullied?
I mean, I would.
Are you aware of it, right?
Yeah. So I would support them. I mean, not the bullying, but then
Yeah,
the
I
person who's
understand.
getting bullied.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you would stop them or like get them, stand for them basically, and tell them it's not right or something.
So Formula 4 racing is still male dominated, or do you see girls training as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So in my team, there's 2 girls, and
How wonderful.
it's a mixed sport. So,
Yeah, and they are handling equally same
Yeah,
machines as
right,
you guys are.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really commendable. So now you tell me, Ishan. So how much time do you give to your studies?
Balancing studies and racing is quite hard.
Hmm.
So I mean, school supports me for this, but then even if you have exams, you got to like prepare
Much in advance.
much in advance with the chapters. It's quite hard, but yeah.
You're getting there.
Yeah, getting there.
So Ishan, what is that one risk factor that you think is there in Formula 4 racing?
So in India, it's probably the safety, probably because it's not up to the standards what internationally it is. So probably the safety with all the gear and all that stuff.
So as soon as you finish this training of Formula 4 racing, what's your next step in this career?
Probably race internationally. Yeah, that's one of my goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but in studies, then what do you plan to pursue after 10th? You do normal college and everything.
Yeah, some university probably.
Yeah.
In abroad and then race
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
Correct. So what is that one amazing part of yours and dad's relationship?
It's the bond we have. Like he's like a friend to me at home. So it's like I can share anything with him at home or anything, like literally, being it friends or anything, what's happened in my day, or yeah, he's like a friend to me.
So is he a patient father or is he a hyper father?
No, he's a patient father. Like he like listens to what I say. And
So what does a typical day in a house looks like with you, your brother, and father? What's the day like?
so if he's not at work, so probably we probably go out somewhere, like hang out for a while, go out for lunch or dinner, and then do our own stuff at home normally. So it's just a few hours we spend together and then do our own stuff.
Was it one thing in your dad you would want to change?
Probably nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so good. That just explains that what a wonderful relationship you both share. It's as good as Formula 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, just racing ahead.
Yeah.
It was so wonderful speaking to you, Ishan. And before winding up, what's this trophy?
So I was playing basketball and I just tripped.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a silly accident.
So promise me after this shoot, I can write on it.
Sure, yeah.
Is there some space?
Yeah, you can find some space on it.
It was such a wonderful experience talking to Vijay, your father, and you. A beautiful relationship indeed, and lovely father-son chemistry that we got to see. Thank you for being there on our show, Ishan.
Thank you.
And for your future, best wishes from me and my team in our teams.
Thank you.
आज के एपिसोड में बस इतना ही. मिलेंगे आपसे अगले एपिसोड में. तब तक के लिए टेक केयर एंड यस, डू नॉट फॉरगेट to like, share and subscribe. Take care and namaskar.